Now, obviously we know the results of this, but you have written that Pakistan has been thrown into a serious constitutional crisis. Does that still stand given this latest result?
Well, I mean, the fact that Imran Khan has finally lost the no confidence motion, which was much delayed, doesn't mean that the crisis has been solved, because I understand that a reference has been filed to the Supreme Court challenging its own order, ruling against the Deputy Speaker's decision to basically overthrow the no confidence motion. So it will continue. I think there's a lot of controversy about the charge by Imran Khan and his party of a conspiracy. And so the debate will continue for much longer. And depending on the tactics, even though he claimed to accept the result of the judicial decision, we don't know whether there will be street demonstrations, and those could go out of hand and create further tensions.
Could you perhaps give us a little bit of background on this story for the viewers that perhaps aren't familiar with Pakistani politics? And we also know, of course, that Khan has used this narrative that there is this foreign conspiracy to oust him from power, of course, without evidence, as far as we know. How does the US come into this narrative?
It's a narrative that politicians in the past have deployed, some with good effect and some with not such good effect. So I mean, it doesn't say that there isn't some measure of interference, but not every government's downfall is because of American, conspiracies. So I do think that whilst there's always been a view that Pakistan has a foreign policy dependent on the US, and that there's a desire to have an independent policy, that does not lead to conspiracy simply because of some odd conversation between a low-ranking US foreign office official and the US and the Pakistan ambassador. So I do think that conclusions have been arrived at without necessarily thinking them through. And so the case perhaps can be still discussed, and I'm sure it will be, because Mr. Imran Khan will not give this narrative up. But that could result in continued political instability in Pakistan.
Given Imran Khan's legendary status in Pakistan, what will the fallout be from this, do you think? Are we likely to see people taking to the streets in protest?
I mean, there are some very loyal supporters, and you cannot rule this out. But ultimately, I think the opposition will be best served to call early elections. I don't think that this is a tenable scenario for the opposition to try and govern the country. I think it will need, whoever comes in, will need a new mandate, whether that's Imran Khan, or whether that's some other party or combination of.
Now, the Pakistani government, under the leadership of Khan, has had a strong relationship with China. What does it mean now for relations with China? Is it likely that whoever governs next is going to still maintain close ties to China?
Well, I think the relationship with China will remain unaffected. If anything, there were some wrinkles that emerged under Imran Khan's time. The previous government of the Pakistan Muslim League N, which is likely to replace him, had very, very good relations. And I mean, this is not just a government-to-government relationship. I think it's a state-to-state relationship, which doesn't change with government changes in Pakistan.